Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm sitting here with Fiona Ma, California State Treasurer. I'm super excited about today's interview. I don't know much about this field, so I'm going to learn with you right here on camera. Fiona, thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Polly, for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm actually really excited. One thing I wanted to bring up is I know that you used to sit on the board of National Corps. Is that correct?
I did, probably for about 4 years.
4 years, wow.
And I really didn't know anything about affordable housing back then, but whenever I'm offered opportunities and I don't know about something, I always take that as a challenge and an opportunity to learn. So that was back in 2002 to 2006.
Wow. Okay.
Long time ago. And then now, fast forward to 2018, I oversee the tax credits and the bonds that goes to fund affordable housing units. So the fact that I had a little bit of information way back when, I think really helped me do this job better.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to just kick off the interview with personally thanking you. I don't know if you know, but I'm a resident of National Corps. And because of all the hard work and dedication of folks like yourself, I've been able to kind of establish myself and have some dignity and pride in where I live, in a clean, safe environment that's affordable, and that's really important, especially nowadays. So I just want to thank you for being a part of that and giving opportunities to people like myself.
Yeah, and especially in California, as the cost of living keeps going up, having affordable, reliable housing, I think, is really key. And what I learned from National Corps is that when we talk about affordable housing, it is really beautiful places. Well thought out, well planned, with community rooms and other amenities. And so the fact that you're here talking about it, dispelling the myths that affordable housing is really attainable housing, right?
Yeah.
Housing that you can afford and a place where you can stay here in California.
Yeah, and there's such a stigma behind affordable housing. I mean, me personally, just in our building in Downey, California, I watched my neighbor. We moved in when the building was built, so we were first residents to the Downey View, and my neighbor's daughter, she was already in junior high when we moved in, so I kind of watched her go through high school. She ended up getting a scholarship to Harvard, and then she went on. She's working now in D.C., and she's very successful. And there's multiple stories. Another resident, opened his own gym, and it's just such an amazing, you think affordable housing, you think like crime
Right.
And it's actually just a very important step. And I don't know if it's just National Corps, what they're doing that's so great that there's such a high success rate, or if it's all, but I can only speak for what I see. And it's been really successful in the city of Downey.
Yeah. Well, National Corps, I know that, their base is out here in the Inland Empire, but they have now spread across the state of California. So all of them, right, they're all highly regulated. It's a competitive system with the developers. Very difficult because they have to put together their whole capital stack to make it happen, right? Because everything, the more money that we can raise on the outside, the less that the tenants have to pay in rent. So it's a very sophisticated system. It's not something that people just, willy-nilly, put someplace. I mean, it's very, very well thought out and planned for many, many years.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what's your background? It sounds like you come from a financial background.
I am.
What you studied?
Yeah, I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant, specializing in real estate, taxation, and hospitality. So it kind of all fits into, the background, and maybe that's why they asked me to sit on the board because of my background. But yes, so it's helped. So I have a bachelor's in accounting, a master's in taxation, and an MBA. So my whole education is focused on money and budgets and the economy, and it's, I think, helped now that I'm the treasurer of the fourth largest economy, that I do have this background.
Wow. And did you grow up in California? Are you from the state?
I grew up in New York.
New York.
Yep. I'm the oldest child of immigrant parents. My parents were both born in China, left at an early age, immigrated to Hong Kong, met at a nice church picnic in Toronto. My grandfather was a minister and my mom was an only child. And so my dad and his friends would go to church picnics to find girls, good girls. And so they met
Good place to go.
Exactly. So they met at that picnic, and my dad was really impressed with my mother because she beat him in the egg spoon race.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty good at those.
Yeah, my dad's a pretty good athlete, and he was 8 years older than my mom, so she was probably maybe 14 or 15, and so he was kind of impressed with that. And then they stayed as pen pals for many years, and then they moved down to New York. And after my mother finished City College, she wrote to my dad and said, "Now or never." And so my dad said, "Okay." And so he came down to New York, they got married, and kind of the rest is history. But yes, born and raised in New York, in Chinatown.
Wow.
Lived with my grandparents for 4 years while my parents went and worked, and then saved enough money for our first home in Great Neck, Long Island. And so that's where I went to elementary, junior high, and high school. Then went to the Rochester Institute of Technology in upstate New York because they had a specific CPA track with 2 paid internships. And I really wanted to get more experience. Highly recommend paid internships. And then by that time, my parents decided to move to California, to San Francisco, again, following my grandfather through the church. And that's how I ended up in San Francisco since 1988.
Amazing. So much in common in locations. I grew up in Greenwich Village, and I would go down to Chinatown all the time, Canal Street, and get all kinds of cool stuff. And
it's changed a lot.
Oh no, New York's like a whole different city. But I grew up there in the '80s. It was a different city. A little more. I felt like there was more culture. It was more. Now I don't know. It's kind of like. It's just so expensive, especially Manhattan. It's impossible. We got rent control though. I still have a family member has the apartment in Greenwich Village.
Oh, okay.
So he's there. Can't afford to eat around his apartment, but he could afford the apartment. Anyways, moving on.
Okay.
So San Francisco. So you come to San Francisco. What was your first professional coming out of college? What did you get into? Did you work for a firm or?
So back then there were 8 big accounting firms. They call them the Big 8. So I worked with Ernst & Whinney in the real estate tax group in downtown San Francisco. Stayed there for 5 years, then quit and started my own practice at the age of 28 and became president of a small business association. And that was the first time that I got involved in politics, going to advocate for more contracting opportunities for women and minority small businesses. So it opened my eyes to, government and people who were in government and how much, control and power they had over our budgets, over legislation, regulations, rules. And so I started to get more interested. I got a part-time job with Senator John Burton as a constituent representative for 2.5 days part-time for about 7.5 years until I got elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2002. And so that's when I got asked to sit on, the National Core Board, 2002 to 2006. Then I got elected to the State Assembly, and the state, does regulate and handle a lot of these tax credit and bonds. So I got off of this board and served as Majority Whip for 4 years, and then Speaker Pro Tem my last 2 years in the legislature, and then got elected to the State Board of Equalization, your friendly tax collector, then State Treasurer in 2018, and then reelected in 2022. So I've been on the ballot 20 times, 4 different positions, 3 in deficits, by the way. So I'm used to, handling, difficult being elected in difficult times, and then, now running for lieutenant governor next June.
As a woman in such powerful positions and in such I would imagine, a male-dominated industry coming up in the 80s and 90s, maybe it's a little more diversified now, I'm not sure. What kind of challenges have you faced along that way, just gender-wise, like as a female?
Yeah, so people always ask, is it harder to be Asian or harder to be a woman in politics? And I say it's hard to be a woman. It is still very male-dominated. The people who control a lot of the money here in the States, people who are in those leadership positions where they can allocate the money, are still men. And so I'm running maybe against you, and they may give you $9,800. They'll give me $2,500. Wow. And they'll say, okay, well, come back, at your next fundraiser. And so I have to go back to someone sometimes 3 times versus my male counterpart. But you know what? I have better relationships with people because, I'm calling them a lot more, right? I'm seeing them a lot more, asking them, hey, please invite me to the show, to your gala. So, I take it as not only as a negative, but, you have to figure out how to think about the other side, and how you can overcome some of these barriers.
Yeah, so you hustle harder and you get more results. Are you feeling that it is changing, though, in more current days? I mean, is it opening up a little bit? I try to look at just social things and entertainment-wise and, with the, women's basketball and things are starting to open a little bit or is it still...
Oh, for sure. For sure. Things are definitely changing, and, there's more women who are figuring out how to get attention, and social media clearly is a great leveler for people like me. And so the more that we are out there supporting each other, especially, I think is important. And in politics, there's a lot of training programs for women now, trying to prepare them to run, right? Trying to, hook mentors and mentees up. Like I do a lot of, mentoring. Anybody who wants to run for office, I always say, please call me. I'll be your mentor, because it's not easy.
Yeah, I bet. What do you find most joy in what you do? What do you find are the rewards, for what you specifically do?
Yeah, I got into this business to really level the playing field. So being able to help those that don't have a voice, don't have a lot of money. But my favorite thing is making wishes come true. So if people are like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do this, or I wish, I could have this or have this experience, sometimes I can make those happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you're running for
Lieutenant Governor,
and how's that going? Are you campaigning now?
Oh yeah. I started campaigning 3 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Knowing that, number one, I told you that it's harder for women. Number two, I always try to run early to try to clear the field, and that's always been my strategy. I don't have, $30 million, in my checking account. It's not easy to raise money in this state because there's so many different races and different candidates and initiatives. So I always start early, and so far, so good. Out of the people who are running and declared, I think I'm the most qualified and experienced so far.
Well, you got my vote.
Thank you, Polly. So spread the word.
So 3 years, I mean, is that typical how long it takes when you start a campaign before an election to start that?
It used to be 2 years, but I think now if folks really want to run for something, they should go early and they should let people know. Wow. And so that was one of my mentors. He's like, if you're going to run, you go. You plant your flag and you run hard. Yeah. And so...
So this is exciting. So what does that look like? I don't know much about politics. So in campaigning, what is it? Is it like grassroots? Are you getting out with different organizations? What's the goal to pull these voters to get people behind you? Besides having money to pay for ads, but what's like the...
Yeah. Well, traditionally, you need 2 things: money and you need votes. So traditionally, your consultants will tell you to just save money, raise money, save money, so that right before the election, you have money to go up on air or, do newspaper ads, mailers, etc. But these days, I think we've had so many elections here in California that people turn off sometimes around election time. They throw out the mail because there's just too much of it. They don't know what's true or not. And then when election day comes, if you're motivated, you've already thrown out your ballot. Because ballots are all mail-in now. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that because you get a ballot 6 weeks ahead. You're like, looks like junk mail, throw it out. And then I'll come back and I'll say, Paula, did you vote? And you'll be like, how do I vote? I'll say, did you get your ballot? And you'll be like, when?
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, nobody told me that was my ballot.
Right.
Then where do I go? And we don't have that many polling places open. So anyway, I digressed.
But you're right. I was already thinking, did they text me? I'm like, well, send it to me on my phone. I don't even check my mail.
Exactly. I mean, is that where we're going to go? Right. Pretty soon, because, how many, I check my mail once a month.
Yeah, exactly.
And so sometimes I find it, sometimes I don't. Anyway, so every race is different, right? Local level, people want to see you. You have to go door to door. You have to be visible. You give everyone your phone number. You better be showing up in the community. They need to know who you are. Then when you go to the state legislature, Sacramento, for 9 months, people don't expect to see you that much because you're up there trying to make laws. Then when I ran for the Board of Equalization, that was a quarter of the state. It's even harder. Plus the position, nobody wants to call the tax collector unless there's a problem.
Right.
So I wasn't that popular, even though I did try to get out there and let people know how to stay out of trouble, who to call, contact us. And then statewide, I think people don't expect to see you a lot, but I believe in retail politics. And so I go to all 58 counties. I always say, if you invite me, I will come. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 people in a living room or 5,000 people in a ballroom. I prefer smaller, quality versus quantity. And so I think that's been my special sauce. I still control my own schedule. I post on 6 social media sites every day, working on my TikTok videos now.
Yeah,
because that's what people are looking at.
You gotta get the TikTok up,
yeah, with the captions, and you have to make it interesting. Otherwise, they're not gonna pay attention. So I'm just trying to learn all these different tricks to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, with these recent elections, and not to get into elections, but with the recent presidential elections, we noticed a big social media had a huge impact on how it shifted and shaped the election. And so my question is, I know traditionally celebrities played a big part, and actors and singers would, who was going to endorse who. But what we noticed on this election, the biggest singers in the world, Taylor Swift and stuff, supported one candidate, but it seemed like the podcasters went with another candidate, and that candidate took an election. And how do you guys feel in politics? Because I'm seeing everyone doing it now. Gavin Newsom and different people are doing podcasts, and they want to get into that. Is that something you guys are seeing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I have weekly meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so today we were just talking about your podcast. How podcasts are great because you're reaching your community, and we can replay it and save it and share it, and it's free for us, right? So why wouldn't we be taking advantage of these podcasts, learning about each other, promoting, whatever the causes are that, we both care about. So exactly. Also, ethnic media. After COVID, a lot of the people, couldn't go to work anymore, but they still needed something creative. So out in your house, you can create your own newsletter, your own blog, and there's a whole big movement of ethnic media sites and people that also want to report and have a following. So that is something that we also, I think, don't think about.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So let's say moving forward, what are the plans? What are you really carrying with you? Why should people look into you, search you, vote for you, get behind you, and tell their friends at their coffee tables about you?
Thank you.
What are your main strong?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first off, my tagline is proven, principled, problem solver. And I think those 3 words, definitely 4 words, definitely describe, who I am. I've been around. I will take on the tough fights. I take on tough issues. Sometimes I'm ahead of the curve, not afraid to lead. And then problem solver. I go around the state asking people, what is it that they need in their community? Right now, it's about funding and financing. So everybody always needs a little bit more money to get their museum built or to get their, firehouse or their library. So I'm able to, work with folks to try to get those projects done. So economic development is something that is so important. our state highly depends on personal income tax, corporation tax, and sales taxes. So if people are not making money in high quality jobs, they're not able to buy and sell bonds, stocks or houses. If they don't have stock options, bonuses, IPOing, that's where California is strong. So trying to attract businesses here, trying to get them to stay here, grow here is a lot of what I do and what I would continue to do as Lieutenant Governor. And then Lieutenant Governor sits on UC, CSU community college sites. And it used to be free, right? Yeah. Way back when. And now it is getting more and more expensive. And so how do we maybe pivot some of the courses so that we are teaching the next generation something that is valuable, that these companies want, and that they're not going to go into high student loan debt. Yeah. I chair Scholarshare 529, college savings program, and my mantra is save early to parents, save more, and don't put your kids, in that position where they have to be in debt after they graduate for a piece of paper that they don't know whether they're going to be able to use anymore. Right. So these days, right, we're strong in aerospace, entertainment, tourism, hospitality, nursing, and caregiving, property management. There's no school for people to go to be a property manager, for example. Yeah. So we need to pivot and make sure that our next generation are getting those skills to fill those positions so that the companies stay here and not get incentivized to move.
Tell me about you, your personal, what do you believe in? What's your core beliefs, not just professionally and, as a politician or a treasurer, but what are the things that are important to you?
So I think politicians, they get into office for a certain reason, but you really should take a look at, their background and then their values and then what they care about and are going to fight for. So, I'm the oldest daughter of immigrant parents. I came to this country for the American dream. So I am very in tune with kind of that immigrant experience, that entrepreneurial spirit, that, willingness to come and sacrifice and work. My parents started out with no money. Okay. So, I could see, the will and the desire to come and make it for themselves, but also the next generation. So I care about, the immigrant experience. I care about people who don't have a lot of money, who don't have a voice. And that I feel like politicians, that is our main job, is to, take care of those that can't take care of themselves. Housing is very important. I believe in home ownership. Affordable housing is great to start, and I hope people will save. But the way we build equity is through home ownership. So I bought my first house because my parents had saved for me for college, and I actually had extra money that I could use for an advanced degree, start a business, or buy a house. And I decided to buy a house. And that was one of the best decisions that I made. And I saw that in my parents, having that home. Yeah. So here in California, I've been supporting a lot of home ownership programs, going out to speak, trying to let people know what some of the down payment assistance programs are, as well as, the programs from the state. I care about education because that is the great leveler. It used to be where people, needed to go get, undergrad, bachelor's, and then they need to get a master's. But these days, it's about some sort of training where they are going to be successful. After COVID, young people don't want to necessarily go to school just for that piece of paper and to be in high student loan debt. They want to know that they're going to be able to do something with their life. They're going to make money. They're going to be able to support themselves and their family. So education. Those opportunities are important to me. Healthcare. I was born with a pre-existing condition, hepatitis B, and before Obamacare, people like me would have a difficult time getting insurance or getting kicked off of insurance because of a pre-existing condition. So, now I'm glad that, people like me don't have to make that choice. My mother also had depression. Pretty much her life because she had moved around and didn't grow up very poor. So her health condition wasn't very good. So making sure that we have accessible, quality health care for all. So these are just kind of some of my big picture items, but I have a lot of other issues that, I work on the side.
Yeah, those are very important things. I'm glad that you're focusing on those. It's much needed. It seems like an incredibly difficult thing to be in the public eye. I can imagine the scrutiny that's faced or the things that are said, especially with social medias, and sometimes people just go on and say things. Why would anybody want to pursue this kind of position and put themselves through that?
Yeah. 25 years ago when I ran for my first race, there's negative mail, but it's really just during the election time, and it's fair game, right? You can put out mail against your opponent based on some fact, right? These days, people just make up things.
Yeah.
And with AI, for example, you're not really even sure whether that's you or that's not you, that's you saying it, not saying it. So it is really more difficult for people like me. Our target keeps getting bigger. And when your target gets bigger, plus social media where people can be anonymous, and attack you anonymously, they don't even know who you are, that is probably one of the most, damaging. And then for families these days, because the attacks against you when you're running are so personal, negative, and sometimes untrue, sometimes the family members, aren't prepared. If you have kids and you're hearing your mother or father attacked every day, or your spouse or your family. So, that also has to be a consideration when you're in this business. How many people are going to be impacted every single day, right? If you're running and you're being attacked, your kids also have to hear it every day in school. So it is sometimes a mindset. Sometimes it's family members because they're running because their father was the mayor or their father was this. So they've grown up in the business and they understand that this is part of it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I would also say that you can do a lot of good, so.
For people that are at home that are not educated on policies and voting, like you said, a lot of people just don't even know when to vote, how to vote. They're so caught up in working a 9 to 5 or maybe a 14-hour shift. They're not really focused on it. My questions are, how do we get the word out to them about voting and how to get in and vote? And why is it important for them to know what they're voting for and to actually get out and do it?
Yeah. I know it's getting more and more complicated. Even our ballot handbooks are, kind of like a little mini, phone book these days. And people get hung up that they don't know all the issues and they don't know how to vote. They don't want to make the wrong vote is what I am finding. Yeah. So it is important because if you have any complaints, if you don't like the way things are going, then you need to get more involved, right? Yeah. Voting is just the start, right? Make sure you're registered. Make sure you understand you're going to get a ballot in the mail. Don't throw out the ballot. Make sure you have to sign the back of the ballot, right? Everything is, all according. They don't make it easy sometimes. In theory, we make it easy because everyone's supposed to vote, via the mail. But then if you throw away your ballot, it's not that easy, right, to go and vote now. So it's the flip side. Secondly, I would say, if you don't have the time to understand everything on the ballot, then go to trusted advisors, people who are in the know, people who are following and tracking all of our votes, all of our issues, right? Because, especially if you care about something like affordable housing, then who are those champions that are going to be for you? Who are going to get up there and fight? But you have to be educated. You can't just be complacent. If you have time, definitely go to your city council meeting, go to Sacramento to testify on those bills that are important. And if you have more time, go and seek an appointment on a local board or a commission. All of your city council, your school board, community college, special districts, state assembly members have appointments. The governor has thousands of appointments. And we really just want people to apply who care about the community. They're going to show up for every meeting. That's a commitment. We don't pay a lot, maybe a stipend, but that's the best way to get involved, not necessarily run for office, but be kind of that second line of defense in, giving that advice and voting on issues that you care about locally. And then if you're like me, you look at your elected officials and you say, I think I could do a better job. And then you start running and you keep running. People like me, this is what I do. This is my calling. There's nothing else I'd rather do. So, this is it for me.
Well, I think you're going to do incredibly well. I want to thank you for coming on. Before you get out of the hot seat, we ask everybody who comes on the show to look into your personal camera there. And for somebody listening, somebody who's, what you're saying has resonated with them, what advice do you have for them?
I would say get more involved. Do your research. Follow people that understand your personal story, that is going to want to make California better and everybody's lives better. I think that is the most important, that we need to support each other, link arms a little bit more, do a little bit more for each other during these difficult fiscal times. But we are the Golden State. We are the 4th largest economy in the world, and we will get through it together.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.